If you're joining this live, just give me a few moments to get everything set. All right, we are ready to go. We are ready to go. All right, let me know if you're hearing me in the chat. Let me know if you're hearing me clearly in the chat this evening. As you can see on screen, we have a very, very important topic. And this is something that has been, not discussed as it should. Sometimes it is pushed under the carpet. Sometimes people suffer in silence. But this evening, we are going to get into it. Welcome, good evening, and welcome to Just a Thought. Tonight's live is a serious but necessary conversation, okay? And it's not about calling names, it's not about, judging specific cases, all right? And guess what? It's not about politics. This is about a pattern we've seen over the years and asking a simple but important question. Why is domestic abuse against women in Jamaica is so common? Welcome one and all. Welcome to the live. As you come in, I ask that you press like on the live, share it with someone. Let's have a quick discussion. This live is not going to be very long, but I just want to put this topic out there to just get a feedback from my loyal viewers and subscribers on what is happening, what are the possible causes, and we cannot discuss causes without discussing solutions. All right. Let me say this again. If you're joining the live, please go ahead, like the stream, share it, and let me know in the chat where you are watching from. I'd love to know where you are watching from this afternoon. All right. And I'll say this clearly from the start. This is a respectful space. Okay. This is a respectful space. The channel is a respectful space. So if you come on, let your comments, be respectful. Let your interactions be respectful. We are here to talk, we are here to reflect, and hopefully to point people towards better choices. Let me repeat that. We are here to talk, we are here to have a conversation, we are here to reflect and hopefully to point people towards better choices as it relates to, relationships. So over the past decades, we've seen repeated reports of, domestic abuse against women and women in general. Okay, some of them ended up in tragedy, and we would have seen it in the news. We see it on social media, and it's all over. And sometimes you ask the question, why? Why is this, happening in our society? Is it that there's not enough sensitization? Is it that there's not enough education, on the media? Are in the print media, are in the even the songs that are out there by the different entertainers. What do you think? Let's get into it. So despite awareness, would you say there is enough awareness out there about violence against women? Would you say that? Type in the chat and let me know if you think adequate awareness programs are out there. So despite awareness, despite conversations and campaigns, the problem still persists. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that? As you come on the live, just press like and share it with someone. Type in the chat and tell me where you are streaming from, where you are watching from tonight. And I'd love persons to participate in the chat tonight based on the topic you are seeing on screen. So tonight isn't about outrage. We're not going to get angry. We're not going to, speak down or disrespect anyone. We want solutions tonight from all over the world, wherever you're streaming in from, you're tuning in from rather. So tonight it's not about outrage, it's about understanding, okay? It's about understanding. Because if we understand the causes, we can talk about the prevention. Would you agree with me? If we understand the causes of domestic violence against women, we can also talk about, the prevention and solution. All right, so here's my question. Let me ask you this question, right? And you can tell me in the chat. Do you think domestic abuse is something society talks about enough, or would you say not enough? Type in the chat and let me know. Let me repeat it. Do you think domestic abuse, and let me put it to say against women, is something society talks about enough? Or do you think they don't talk about it enough? Can you type your response in the chat and let me know? All right, so what I'm about to mention, these are not excuses. They are possible factors, okay, that we need to address. And the question I just posed to my loyal viewers and subscribers, do you think domestic abuse against women in our society is talked about enough, or do you think it is not talked about enough? Okay, and truth be told, what I'm about to mention, are not excuses, but they are possible factors that we need to address honestly. Now, one of the factors you might consider, is poor conflict resolution skills. Poor conflict resolution skills. How many of us knows about conflict resolution skills? When we were going to school, they taught us that when you get angry, count from 1 to 10, and by that time your tempo will cool down, or somebody would say, take a walk, go take a walk, take a breather, you know breathe in, breathe out, and then your anger will cool down. But do you think we know, as a society, how to, reduce conflict, how to resolve conflict rather? Do you think it is taught enough in school from an early age, even from the primary level, how to deal with conflict resolution? Okay, many people were never taught how to deal with conflict in a healthy way. When we were going to school, people rather boost conflict rather than resolve it. Anybody remember this thing where when you're going to school and you get in a fight with somebody and the pushing starts, another third person running with a stone shaking in their hand, hot potty, who bounce it off? My God, those were the days. So from we were small, we were taught to fight and to defend ourselves, but I don't think we were taught enough about conflict resolution. And tonight I am, saying it, that this might be a possible cause of domestic abuse. Not saying it is the only cause, but it might be a possible cause. Not enough being, out there about conflict resolution. Many people were never taught how to deal with conflict in a healthy way. When emotion rises, things escalate instead of being talked through. How many people talk through their issues, right? How many people talk through their issues, right? Persons rather to defend themselves verbally and lash out and call people names. And one thing with us Jamaicans, once somebody tell you a hot word, you're gonna try and tell them something to burn them even more. That is not conflict resolution. Okay, that is even adding fuel to fire. Okay, all right. And so I am putting this out there that I believe, poor conflict resolution skills, might be one of the possible cause of the topic we are discussing tonight. But do you think people are taught how to manage conflict properly? What do you think? Do you think people are taught to manage conflict properly? For some reason, I'm not seeing if there's any comment on screen, but I'll get round to that in a moment. Another thing I'm putting out there that might be a possible cause of domestic abuse to women, unmanaged anger and ego. People like to say men are filled with a lot of ego. For some men, anger is the only emotion they know how to express. And don't get me wrong, men, if you're listening or if you're on this live, I said for some men, not all men. For some men, anger is the only emotion they know how to express. Okay, and when ego messes with, sorry, when ego mix with anger, let me tell you, it can become dangerous. Let me ask you that are on, why do you think anger is still normalized in men? right? But guess what? Vulnerability is not. Men are not taught to cry. From you were a small boy and you run and you hit your foot and you buck out your toenail, because when we're small, whenever you have the luxury of wearing shoes or slippers, you're crying, you go to mommy or daddy and they say, yeah, we are ball so far, that they are ball over. Tough up yourself, man, you're a man. So that was how we were cultured. Okay. So men never like to express emotion, when they are hurt. And so sometimes as this says, unmanaged anger, it is bottled up inside. And the only way men know how to express themselves is through anger. And I'm saying this as another possible cause. Now, a third cause we're thinking about tonight that can be possible causes of domestic abuse against women. We are looking at substance abuse, alcohol, drugs. Alcohol and drugs, they don't really create violence, but they often remove the restraint. So when you are, influenced by one of these substances, your mind is not at the place that it ought to be. And you'll do things that when you become sober, you wonder what you just did, right? So, do you think substance abuse plays a role in many of these cases? All right. So, if you're commenting, I'm not sure what is happening. I'm still learning this thing, not seeing the comments on screen if someone has commented, but please feel free to do so as we go along and sort things out here. Okay, so we're looking on why is domestic abuse against women still common in Jamaica? What are the possible causes and what are the possible solutions? And if you're just joining us, one of the causes I put out there was poor conflict resolution skills. We're saying conflict resolution is not taught enough. And I believe it should have been in school from an early age, from the primary level. We're also looking at unmanaged anger and ego in men. Men feel like, oh, me nah make nobody diss me, no girl nothing diss me. Sorry to say that, ladies, but it's just a Jamaican saying, and that's what they will say, and they not take no diss for no girl and all them thing there, and then them bridging it that boots them too. So that's another thing too. Bad influence. You're gonna make a girl diss you, and you're gonna make this and you're gonna make that. Type in the chat. Tell me if you think those are some of the possible causes. All right. So we look at substance abuse. Next, we want to look at, and we are not saying these are the only causes, but these are possible causes. We want to look at fear of embarrassment, right? Or a loss of control when a man believes he's no longer in control and the woman is getting too independent and the woman is not obeying what he's saying. He feels, afraid as if he's losing power and wants to get back power. And the way he feels he should get back power is to abuse the woman. And we're looking at domestic abuse, and we're not just looking on it as physical abuse. It can be verbal abuse, it can be psychological abuse, okay, all of those abuse. And let me directly say that none of them is accepted and should be accepted in our society. So we look at fear of embarrassment or lack of control. Some people would rather destroy a relationship than admit it's failing. Well, let me ask you this question. Is walking away from a relationship still seen as weakness? If you're in a relationship as a man and things not going well, rather than taking matters in your own hand and hurt the woman, don't you think walking away would be a better solution? Hmm? Walking away would be a better solution for everybody. And walking away is not weakness. You don't have anything to prove. You don't have anything to prove. So you don't have to prove anything and show that you're macho and show that you're a man, you know. But let peace reign. Walk away if things not working out. If you find that the woman is getting too independent or too educated, and both of you not seeing eye to eye and teeth and tongue always a meet, I mean, both of you can come to a decision. And if you try and get counseling and it's just not working out, walk away. It's better to walk away and be free than to commit a crime and be locked up for the rest of your life. So many of you are out there listening to this live. whether on the live or when it is posted. I mean, think about it. There's nothing better than your freedom. When you are free, trust me, it's the best thing you could have ever had. It's freedom. Okay. But let me ask it again, is walking away from a relationship still seen as weakness? I don't think it is weakness if you're in a relationship and it is not working out, right? And some women have to run for their life. They have to take night, pack their things, and run. And if that's what it takes for you to get out of an abusive relationship, go right ahead and do that. All right. If you're on the live again, I ask you as you come in, just press like on the live, share it with someone, invite somebody, and let's have a discussion. The fifth thing we want to look, the fifth possible cause we want to look at that can be a possible cause of domestic violence against women in our society is refusal to seek help. Okay? Refusal to seek help. Counseling is still viewed by some as a last resort, okay, or as a sign of failure. Two things they say man doesn't like to do. They say men doesn't like to go to the doctor. Anybody can attest to that in the chat? Yes, they say men don't like to go to the doctor. And also, they say men don't like to go for counseling. So, if there's a relationship and there are issues in the relationship, some men do not like to go for counseling. And I mean, going for counseling, you don't know everything. I don't know everything. There are those out there who are trained, how to guide you through, rocky relationships. Okay. Why do we go to the doctor? Because the doctors are trained. They would have done years of studies, and we go to the doctor and we get help. Same thing for counseling. Okay. If you're in a relationship and both parties are having issues, I mean, nothing is wrong if you set an appointment, go for counseling. Go for counseling. That's just one of the sort out issues in relationship rather than, you know, resorting to domestic violence. We must love our women, okay, and take the very best care of them. And I know if there's any men on this live, you would agree with me. But let me ask this though. Why do you think seeking help is still so stigmatized? Why do you think seeking help is still so stigmatized? Is it because of the way society viewed men? If you seek help, you look soft. If you go to the police station as a man to report an issue to say, boy, your woman drape you up the police rather than, taking the matter seriously and come to investigate, they would laugh at you. Is it our society that makes it look like once you seek help, you're soft, and so men are afraid to go those roads. Okay. Well, look at it this way. Let me ask you this. What do you think needs to change for domestic abuse to actually decrease? Okay. Type and tell me in the comment section. What do you think needs to be changed? Okay, for domestic abuse to actually decrease in our society. So since we would have put out there all the possible causes, let me just run through them for those who are just coming on the live. We are saying a possible cause of domestic abuse can be poor conflict resolution skills. Secondly, we said it can be unmanaged anger and ego in men. Thirdly, we say, all right, substance abuse can be a contributing factor of domestic abuse against women in our society. We also look at fear of embarrassment and loss of control. All right, let's also look at refusal to seek help in the form of counseling and all of that. All right, so since we would have looked at possible causes, let us also look at some possible solutions, okay? Solutions and better choices. If you're joining the live, can I ask you to, as you come on, just to press the like button and, share it with someone and type your thoughts in the comment section. Tell me if you agree with those possible causes I would have listed above. And know that we're going into some solutions. Can I also ask you to type in the comment section, tell me some possible solutions that you think can be employed to reduce, domestic violence against women in our society. All right. So for men especially, men need to hear this clearly. All right. Men, I'm talking to you. Y'all need to hear this clearly. Walking away is not weakness. Okay. Let me say that again. Walking away is not weakness. If you're having, issues in your relationship, I'm here to tell you that walking away is not weakness. Okay. Walking away, let me repeat that. Let me get back the screen up. All right, so walking away is not, okay, walking away is not weakness. All right, so, ending a relationship peacefully is not failure. Let me say that again. Ending a relationship peacefully is not failure. Okay, so walking away is not weakness. When you're having problems and teeth and tongue and meat and there's no peace and you walk away, it is not weakness. Okay, ending a relationship is not failure. If anger is becoming overwhelming, seek counseling. All right, these are some possible solutions. Okay, and talk to a trusted friend. Step back before things escalate. These are some possible solutions that we are saying to our men to reduce domestic violence against women in our society. All right, next we want to look at normalize emotional health. Okay, so if you are seeking emotional help, it shouldn't be stigmatized. It should be normal for a man to seek emotional help. Okay, so we need to normalize therapy, right? Mentorship and emotional intelligence. Okay, know your feelings, understand your own feelings. Okay, so being emotionally aware is not being soft, it's being responsible. Another solution we can also look at is accountability without violence. Accountability without violence. Okay? All right. So accountability does not require violence. Disagreement do not justify harm. So not because you cannot agree, meaning you must harm the other person. Okay, let me ask this question though. What advice would you give to someone who feels overwhelmed and angry in a relationship right now? What advice would you give to that person? Can I ask you, type it in the chat and let me know. All right, type it in the chat and let me know. So, to everyone listening who is struggling with anger, if you're struggling with frustration or control, right? There is help. Let me say this again, especially to our men. All right. If you're listening this, okay, and you're struggling with anger, you're struggling with frustration or control, there is help. Okay. There is help. There are options. Okay. There is always a better choice than violence. There's always a better choice than violence. Always, always, always. Okay. One decision can change many lives. One decision can change many lives. And guess what? Even either it change it for the better or it can change it for the worse. But we need to be aware of our feelings, aware of our emotions as men. Okay? Seek help if you need it. Okay? And let me say this. If you're struggling with anger issue, if you're struggling with getting angry, you're struggling with frustration or losing control, seek help, get help. Help is out there. Okay. If this discussion is meaningful to you, please like the live, share it with someone, and subscribe to Just a Thought because I'm just here to share my thoughts, and you are welcome also on the live to share your thoughts also. This channel exists to have conversations that matter. All right. This channel exists to share conversations that matter. All right. Conversations like this are uncomfortable, but guess what? They are necessary. Change doesn't start with silence. Let me say that again. Change doesn't start with silence. All right. It doesn't start with silence. It starts with a reflection and it starts with speaking out. Change starts with reflection, and it starts with speaking out. Thank you for being a part of this discussion. As I said before, this was a short discussion, right? This has been just a thought. Please like this video, comment in the comment section, share your own thoughts, share the video with someone to get their perspective. Until next time, walk good, stay safe, and God bless. Until our next live, my people, stay safe. All the best.